Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Alan Myers, and this is my wife, Brana. We're relatively new to Pelham Road, and we would like to thank all of you for making us feel welcome over these last few months. We are honored to share a little of our story about cancer this morning on this Pink Sunday.
First of all, Alan and I are ordinary. We've been married for 32 years and have lived in the Berea and Travelers Rest areas for our entire lives. We have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. We've basically had the same jobs all of our adult lives. I'm in my 33rd year with Greenville County Schools, and Alan is the Assistant Fire Chief at Berea Fire Department, where he has been employed since he was 18 years old. I tell you all of that to explain that we don't do crazy. We like plain, normal, ordinary, maybe boring. But our lives became anything but that in January of 2018.
In January of 2018, I was diagnosed with a rare intestinal cancer of the duodenum. I underwent a full Whipple procedure. My advice to you, don't Google that. The 6-hour surgery performed by a national specialist right here in Greenville removed parts of my stomach, pancreas, small intestine, surrounding bile ducts, and gallbladder. Basically, they rebuilt and rerouted my entire digestive tract. That hospital stay, which included many ups and downs, including feeding tubes, ICU, a severe infection, lasted 30 days. Followed by several months of chemotherapy and recovery at home. Even now, the fight continues. I've had chemotherapy again since the initial diagnosis, and just this past June, I underwent another surgery to correct another blockage in the intestinal tract. We know that the cancer lingers in my lungs and gut, and we've accepted the fact that doctor's appointments, tests, scans, and treatments will be a part of our routine for the rest of our lives. Sometimes we found it hard to be thankful in all things, and we aren't necessarily thankful that I had cancer, but we are thankful for the multitude of blessings that we received because of this diagnosis. Throughout my journey, there have been many uncertainties, but God has always been faithful. Over this time, Brana and I have had wonderful opportunities to reflect on all we've learned because of cancer. The list is lengthy, but this morning we'd like to pass along just a few of our favorites.
The first lesson is, don't be scared. If you had told us ahead of time that we were about to get a cancer diagnosis like this, we would have been terrified. Before cancer, I would have bet that we would never be able to endure such. There wasn't much more that would frighten us more than this, but oddly, in the midst of all our trials, we were not actually scared. In fact, while we were surviving, and maybe even thriving, we felt the indescribable and unexplainable peace that came from our good Father. It was more than we could handle, but it was not too much for Him. Our second lesson was very simply, slow down. We were typical. We worked hard, we played hard, we served hard. Sometimes we were mindlessly busy, and to be honest, we were self-absorbed. But in 2018, it all came to a screeching halt. In that hospital room, we had no choice but to sit still, to rest, to let things go, to talk to each other, to let others help us, and to pray. Despite Alan's illness, it was some of the sweetest and most meaningful days of our marriage. What we know now is that there is no prize for being the busiest, but in fact there is a very huge cost. Third, do the little things. We've literally been sustained by the simple acts of kindness that we've experienced in this journey. Alan and I realized that we had made caring for others way too complicated. Our greatest encouragement and reminders of God's love came by way of phone calls, text, balloons from the Dollar Tree. They cost $1. A flower picked from someone's yard, a Starbucks gift card, a Coke with crushed ice dropped off at the hospital by a friend. Caring for people with cancer, or even for those who don't have cancer, doesn't have to be elaborate. We committed ourselves then to do more little things for others because we know firsthand just how big these little things can be.
The fourth thing we would share would be don't underestimate prayers. Since my diagnosis, we've literally had people praying for us around the clock and around the world. We've had prayers lifted up from close friends and from people we've never met. Prayers have come from California, New York, and even the Middle East. They've come from other cancer patients, from school children, from doctors and nurses, from complete strangers who heard our story. There is legitimate and humbling power in knowing that other people loved you enough to ask God to help you. Excuse me. The fifth thing, appreciate the valley. We've often referred to some of these hard times as being in the valley. That sounds bad, but we soon recognize that the valley was not necessarily a bad place to be. For one thing, the valley is quiet and peaceful. Distractions are minimized, and it's often free of worry and noise. We were able to hear God a lot more clearly in the valley. Secondly, things grow in the valley. Farmers know that soil is fertile in the valley. Our time in the valley gave us opportunities to rethink our perspectives and mature in our faith. Lastly, the valley is dark. It is true that sunlight disappears sooner in the valley, but we found that the light of Jesus shines brightest there because other lights were dim in the valley. The light of our Savior was much more evident. There's a short devotional that I have clung to just these past 3.5 years through my journey that I would like to briefly share with you. And it talks about a flashlight beam, and it speaks of a person walking through the woods at night in the darkness with a flashlight. And this person does not know where the path leads, but he just follows the light. And sometimes in our journey, we try to look beyond that light of where our path might lead. And only God knows our true path. So through my cancer journey, I really studied this devotion. And I realized that at times I was trying to look beyond what I couldn't see. And I needed to focus on that beam of Jesus and just go as far as I could see. And when I would get there, I could see a little farther. So my advice to you is to never look beyond what you can't see and allow Jesus to guide you through your path. Some days that flashlight works better than others. Some days we can see clearly for a long way ahead. Some days the beam doesn't cover very much ground at all, but we understand the importance of continuing along the path. We've been blessed by several organizations that have enabled us to serve people going through journeys like ours. One is the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. This organization serves the alarming number of firefighters impacted by cancer. Through this organization, I've been able to work towards legislation and procedures that protect firefighters from dangerous practices that previously exposed firefighters to cancer-causing toxins while in the line of duty. This network also supports legislation that provides firefighters and their families when diagnosed with service-related cancers like mine. My favorite part to this network is the work I've been allowed to do as a mentor to other firefighters recently diagnosed with cancer. I currently serve as a mentor for 4 firefighters across the United States. Another organization that is special to me is On Fire for a Cure, which many just refer to as the pink truck, and you'll get to see that after the service. This truck is an actual fire truck that the Berea Fire Department owns that was decommissioned and giving a new purpose 5 years ago. The pink truck is a symbol to celebrate and remember those who've gone through a cancer battle. It travels across South Carolina to bring awareness to cancer treatment, research, and early detection. It can also be found celebrating the end of chemotherapy and other treatments by allowing patients to ring the bell mounted on the front of the truck. The truck is here today, and I hope you will take time to see it and read the names. If you are a cancer survivor, we invite you to add your name, all the while understanding that we hope and pray for a day when we don't need that pink truck anymore.
Amen.
Thank you.